these sorts of behaviours.
Joining me live now, Shadow Education Minister Julian Leeser. Thank you for your time. So, headlines today, the government talking about having a definition of anti-Semitism, also one of Islamophobia and one of racism towards Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders. Do you support the need for that, to define what those things are?
Well, I particularly support the need for a definition of anti-Semitism, but the government has squibbed the task here. What they should have done is mandate the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism. The universities have had years to adopt this definition, and they've dragged the chain. There was even a report from the Special Envoy, which is a university report card that found that not a single university in Australia had adopted any definition. 15 people are dead at Bondi, and the time for obfuscation, the time for denial, the time for mucking around, as the universities have done, is over. Universities must adopt the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition, and I'm sad that, yet again, it's the coalition that has to drag the government and the universities kicking and screaming to do the right thing.
And when that has been discussed before, there has been the difference between anti-Semitism and criticism, for example, of Benjamin Netanyahu or the Israeli government, disputing facts they claim about the Gaza war and so on. You believe that definition would allow that criticism? Absolutely.
I mean, the definition is clear. It even says that criticism of the State of Israel is not anti-Semitism, and nor should it be. But it's when you blame Jews collectively for the actions of the State of Israel, where you say that Jews are more loyal to Israel than they are to Australia, where you use Nazi imagery to describe Israel, that's not on. And if you can't define these things, you can't take action. And what we've seen at the Royal Commission today, where you had a student who just interviewed who was spat at and called a genocide supporter and a baby killer. You had another PhD student who complained when people made the Hitler salute towards him. He was told not to go to the police by university authorities. He did so, and then he found himself out of a job the following semester. You had another academic at another university find the level of anti-Semitism so bad that she had to leave that university and go elsewhere. This is the experience of staff and students at our universities. And our universities are so important, Tom, because it's where the next generation of leaders go to be formed. And if they see this sort of conduct is acceptable and condoned by university authorities, then we're setting our country up for failure in the future.
So, in talking about needing to define something to be able to label it, take action, etc., is the same thing needed in regards to defining Islamophobia?
I think we need to look at the other matters that have been put forward in this university standard as a part of the response to the Human Rights Commission's Racism at University report. But I think at this particular time, there is one group of students and one group of people on campus that even the Human Rights Commission found were targeted above and beyond any other, and that is Jewish students and Jewish staff. And until we've got that part right, I think we need to focus on that before we deal with other groups.
But if what you're saying is simply adopt that international definition, can't you do that at the same time as defining Islamophobia, and then perhaps also quieten someone saying, hey, you're only addressing this side, what about the other?
Well, there's 15 Jewish people are dead as a result of our failure to deal with anti-Semitism in this country. And I think, people have had long enough. I mean, there have been people calling for universities to adopt this definition since the days of the Morrison government. I mean, the coalition has been very strong on this. I want to say there was even a bipartisan group involving myself, Josh Burns and Allegra Spender, who wrote to all the universities back in 2022 asking them to adopt this definition. 5 universities wrote back and said they were going to adopt it. But when Greg Craven, on behalf of the Special Envoy, did a report on what had actually gone down at universities, he found that not a single university, not a single one, had adopted any definition of anti-Semitism, and that's unacceptable.
What about the definition of racism towards Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders? Again, tropes, if you like, or insults on.
I abhor all racism that goes on at university campuses and anywhere else in our society, whether it's directed to Aboriginal people or whether it's directed to Muslims or to Chinese people or to Indian Australians or to Persians or any other group in our country, or hatred against LGBTI people. It's all bad. and there should be no place for any of it. But we've had this persistent issue of anti-Semitism on our campuses, and it shouldn't be mushed over in and recycled with a range of other hatreds. It needs to be dealt with properly. We've got a Royal Commission specifically dealing with this issue, and my point is universities have had years to address this issue and have failed. Let's address it first.
The Prime Minister giving a speech this week on AI needing a social licence. It's being seen as some as the government perhaps looking to take more specific action or more regulations around AI. It comes, though, at the same time as the reports suggest the government considering a deal with big tech companies that if we get data centres here in Australia and the financial benefits, then perhaps there'll be some easing or deal on copyright. Where does the coalition sit on that?
Look, AI is affecting every area of the economy, including the education sector. Universities are looking at how they should do new assessment tasks, as are schools. It presents challenges everywhere, but it also presents opportunities. And my colleagues, people like James Patterson and Andrew Hastie, have talked about the importance of us having sovereign AI capacity. Now, while we're having sovereign AI capacity, and that would be a really important thing for Australia, for our national security and our economic development, we should not be doing things that sell short our creatives and those people who create content in a way that effectively allows big tech not to pay for those things. Every new technology that comes forward, big tech always wants a holiday from paying for things that other people have created. This is a basic issue of property rights, and we shouldn't sell Australian content creators down the river.
Julian Leeser, got to leave it there. Appreciate your time today. Thank you.